If you ever do leg raises, corkscrews, or dead hangs and feel your hip flexors burning instead of your abs, you're not broken. Your body is just choosing the wrong stabilizers. In this video, I'll show you why this happens and how to fix it using your inner thighs, breath, and your deep core so your abs actually do the work. So most core exercises involve lifting or controlling the legs. The problem, the hip flexors are really good at that. So if your deep core, your transverse abdominis, all of this, particularly the lower part, the pelvic floor and the diaphragm are not managing pressure well, then your body looks for stability elsewhere. And the hip flexors step in, especially in hanging on or long lever movements. This gets worse if you lose pelvic control, flare your ribs, or rush the movement. So when you're in a leg raise, you would have an arched back, then you're definitely using your hip flexors a bit more dominant. If you do a leg raise where you pivot that pelvis a little bit, engage the ribs, engage the abs, you'll find there's more control, but we are going to go through more. Here's what most people miss. Your adductors, your inner thighs, are part of your core system. So when your adductors are engaged, they stabilize and they help stabilize the pelvis and co-contract with the transverse abdominis is what I'm talking about, and the pelvic floor. And this gives your abs something solid to work against. And then if you add in proper breathing, now you have managed your pressure well in your core instead of your hip flexors doing all of the work. So think about squeezing a block in between your legs, breathing into your upper back and ribs, and breathing out, breathing all the air out to try and activate those lower abs and linking in with your inner thighs. Noticing if you can feel that now on your inner thighs and your lower abs in particular without over gripping up here. You'll find if you arch your back, then you can't do that either. So think about that pelvic tilt to shorten so you can contract the abs. I'll share some more information, some links to actual exercises in the description below. And if you hold your breath or you breathe into your chest, then pressure leaks out and the hip flexors compensate again. So instead, think ribs down, pelvis slightly tucked, like I was explaining, the long exhale, which gives you a natural lift in the pelvic floor and helps you contract the lower abs. The diaphragm drops, the pelvic floor responds, and your TA switches on. So think fogging out a mirror or zipping up from the pubic bone to the ribs. So pubic bone up to your ribs. Let's go through some common exercises. For example, I had this morning with someone with a dead hang. So when you're hanging from a bar and you are told to lift your legs up and down, your hip flexors grip for stability. Think about a light posterior pelvic tilt. So having that slight tilt where you can then feel like you can activate your lower abs better. Exhale before lifting the legs. A gentle squeeze of your inner thighs. If you know that they're the things that you want firing, you can give them a little squeeze. And then think about moving pelvis first and then legs second. So you are tilting and then lifting. If you still feel it in your hip flexors, you can always lift one leg at a time or just slow it down. You don't have to lift your legs too much. You can bring your knees up instead. Leg raise is another one. So having your leg raise the problem is it's a longer lever. So there's poor pelvic control here. So a slight knee bend, if needed, is good. Crushing something again in between your inner thighs, and think about exhale as the pelvis curls. So you're exhaling on effort as you are doing those leg raises. You're lying, think about that crunch, and you can do those leg raises. If you still feel it all in your lower back, you need to regress. You may find that you just do one leg at a time, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Again, I've got a link to all of these regressions and progressions for you. You can also do a reverse crunch, lifting the bum up, and corkscrews, a fabulous one for problematic things, just using your hip flexors. So momentum and leg-driven rotation rather than core. Start rotation from ribs. So you're coming up, and I'll show you. Keep pelvis tucked again. Light adduction tension on the inner thighs the whole time, and slow it down down. You can also bend your knees. So think about corkscrews as you're getting that pelvic tilt. You don't want to come into this position. You're going to use your hip flexors, you can see straight away. So rounding, bring those legs up and in. So you're going to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. You want that control and you want that out breath to help fire those low abs. Think about before you even train your core, you need to set the body up so that the right muscles are going to be firing and you can do the work. The core can actually do the work. If your hips are already tight, which most people have got tight hips from our just sitting lifestyle, we're in a car, we're sitting down all the time. If your hips are already tight, your core will struggle no matter how good your technique is. So things that you can do pre-workout for maximum core impact. I love a psoas release. I'm going to also share this information in the links below. Lying on a block, just relaxing there to help gently stretch the psoas is amazing. So when the psoas and the quads are tight, they stay overactive and they steal the job from your abs. So release them first so they then calm down. Secondly, if you have tight hips or if you have tight quads, so the tops of your thighs, they will be taking over too. So if you've got a trigger ball, like a hard ball or a massage ball, or even a tennis ball, spend some time releasing the muscles before. Think of this as turning the volume down on the hip flexors before you ask the core to step up. Next, you want to prime the glutes. So banded glute bridges, a light band, controlled reps. Focus on squeezing the glutes, not arching the lower back. So strong glute activation helps keep the pelvis stable so your abs don't have to fight against the hip flexors. And then activate the core and pelvic floor with that 90-90 breathing. Similar to what I showed you, squeezing a block in between your legs. You're breathing in into the back. And then as you gently breathe out, all the air coming out, you're going to squeeze that block. It just helps you focus on the muscles that you want to be using. And then you can feel if your hips are still taking over, get that psoas release again. This really helps switch on the deep core. So key cueing tips: shorten the space between your ribs and your pelvis. So think of that pelvic tilt. Crush the block. Think in between the thighs. Control the pelvis first. So do the tilt and then do the exercise and slow it down. You don't have to speed everything up, especially if it's core exercise. I get it when you're in a class and everyone's going fast, but you'll be the one feeling it in the core and everyone else will be feeling it in their hips. So if you are feeling hip flexors during core work, it doesn't mean that you've got weak abs. It means that your inner core isn't managing pressure yet. Release tight hips, prime your glutes, breathe better, control your pelvis, and suddenly those same exercises light up your abs instead. And if you want more coaching like this, more education and real support with your training, come join me in the She Lifts Stronger community. So you'll get guidance that actually helps you feel and train better, not just work harder.